What's up, everybody? This is Gabby Staten Island coming to you from beautiful Sonoma County, California. And we've got my partner, Cosmic Charlie, here. He's helping us get this podcast together.
Doing my best. We're
Right.
learning as we're going.
Yeah. So this is our second recording that we've done. So excuse the amateurness of what we're doing here, but hopefully it'll get better and better every time. Before we get started, I wanted to thank our sponsor, Breeders Direct Seed Co. So, Breeders Direct Seed Company, in my opinion, they are the premier source for genetics. You can find my genetics here, but much more than that, they've got a very wide selection of genetics, including stuff from Skunk VA. Um, I work exclusively with Breeders Direct because I think that they are the premier source for um, genetics. So you can find my stuff there. You can find a bunch of other stuff there. Hit them up, check them out on Instagram, and see what you think. Alrighty. So today I wanted to tell a story to you guys about um, the first time I was ever called an OG, which honestly it was pretty recently. So the way the story goes was um, there's a music festival in Napa, California called Bottle Rock, and me and my family regularly go there. It wasn't this last Bottle Rock, it was the year before that we took the whole family, which is at the time my son was 8 years old and my daughter was 6 years old. And yeah, so we spent the whole day there. The goal was to get up close to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And at Bottle Rock, they have a pretty strict policy about like what you can bring in. You can't bring chairs in. You can't bring a whole bunch of stuff in. One of the things you can't bring in is a cart. And we had this big cart that we brought to bring our kids and all of our stuff. We were planning on being up front for the concert. So this cart was like a place for them to sit. Also, they could stand, so like if they're in the crowd and they're standing in the cart, they're, a couple of feet taller so that they could actually see the show much better. So the way the story goes is they wouldn't let us bring the cart in, and we snuck it in through the ADA entrance. It was just like right there. So we went in through the ADA entrance, and this was, pretty early in the day. We went right to the main stage and found a spot. I think we were like 3 rows back from the front row, like the front of the VIP section, which we managed to scam our way into as well. And so, we're there, we're waiting, and um, my daughter starts playing with another young girl that was right next to us. And this young girl gets in the cart with my daughter, and they made a friendship. And, they were hanging out all day, giggling, having fun during the concert. And the daughter's dad, was wearing this cap hat. Okay, so I asked him, I said, is that Capulator? And he said, yeah, Cap's a friend of mine. So I was like, oh, cool. And, we were talking a little bit, and a little bit into the conversation, he says, so, what do you think about Capulator? And so I told him, I said, well, to be honest with you, got a little problem with the guy. I don't know what's up with him. I said, I used to work for a nursery, and we used to sell the Mac 1, which is a clone that we acquired by purchasing it. And, I told him Capulator called up and just started yelling at us right out of the way. It's like, hello. And then, got to put the phone away from your ear because he's yelling that, we're selling the Mac 1, and, that clone was never supposed to be sold, and this and that. And so he says, well, Cap's my friend. I know a little bit about the story. And so I said, all right. So he says, well, how would you feel if you had a clone, you gave it only to close friends, and the deal was nobody was supposed to sell it. And so I said to him, I said, "Hey, man, you don't know who I am." He says, "Who are you?" I said, "Well, I'm Gabby, and I'm the one responsible for bringing the Chemdog from the East Coast to the West. And when I brought it out here, I didn't want anyone to have it. I only wanted to give it to close friends and, keep it in the network. And um, eventually, it got out. And while at the time I might have, been a little upset about it, now thinking about it, a lot of the great genetics from today came because that clone got out. And so he looks at me and he says, "I'm Capulator and you're an OG."
The reveal.
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of funny because I was kind of talking shit to Capulator, like right to his face, not knowing that it was him,
Well, I mean, whose fault was that, you know?
probably mine.
No, I mean, he's like, well, it's my friend, you know, he, kind of misled you from the start there.
Yeah, but maybe if I wasn't such a shit talker in the first place, maybe if I handled it a little bit more delicately. Um, but in the end, um, I think he respected the fact that I told him how I really felt. And,
Well, I think you
you know,
gave him context to it too. It wasn't just, you're just selling the clone here. It's, you understand where he's coming from, but that's kind of just the way that it works in the community.
yeah, I mean, eventually most genetics are going to get out.
Yeah,
That's
especially if
that's
they're
just the way it
worthwhile,
is. I mean, you can only keep it so close for so long.
Hmm.
But what I learned from this was, okay, so when I had the Chemdog, there was a few reasons why I didn't want it to get out. The first thing was that's what Chemdog, the guy who gave it to me in Massachusetts, he told me not to, spread it around too much because
Hmm.
the reality is, um, he was making good money selling his weed. And if everybody had the clone, the, the value of it was going to drop.
Yeah.
And same for me, you know. That Chemdog, when I grew it, basically everything got sold for the highest price imaginable. So
Hmm.
high, I'm not even going to mention it here because it's a little bit embarrassing.
Well,
Um,
it's a testament to how unique it is, and it's understandable that, you don't want those genetics to get out, because then it kind of takes away from how unique, the the leg up you have on everyone, essentially.
I mean, there's a time for everything. There's a time for keeping things close, and then there's a time to understand, like, hey, it's time to let this go. There's that saying, if you love someone, set them free. Well, it's the same thing with your clones. If you love your clones, eventually you want to set them free, let them out into the universe, and see what other people can do with them. And uh, I believe that the chem dog is responsible for a lot of the genetics that are out there today. A lot of
Oh,
things that
absolutely.
we consider OGs um, have chem dog in them, and none of that stuff would be available today if that clone didn't get out. So, but yeah, so that's my story. I'm 54 years old, and I've been growing for well over 30 years. And the first time I've ever been called an OG was by Capulator, and that was like a year and a half ago. And the thing that oh, so to finish, I said OG. I was like, I never thought of myself as an OG. And he says, "Well, when did you start growing?" And I said 1991. He says, "Well, you're an OG." So, um, it kind of made me feel good to be considered an OG from, somebody of the um, stature of Capulator.
The
And,
recognition right there.
yeah, and honestly, he's a cool guy. And we had some good conversations the rest of the day. So, yeah, that's my story about being called an OG from Capulator. The one little thing that I want to add is maybe tell a couple of stories about the Chem Dog, not about how it was acquired or too much about it, but
That's a story that I definitely want to hear.
Oh, you'll that story will come out for sure. And Not So Dog was supposed to join us today,
Hmm.
and he caught a fever, so he said he was going to have to reschedule. We'll
Is it
probably
for more
save it.
cowbell?
Excuse me?
So his fever, is it for more cowbell?
I don't know. I can't hear
Oh,
what
you
you're
don't know
saying.
that reference? I'll show
No.
it to you later. It's a good one.
Okay. Hold on. So I want to wish Not So Dog the best. I hope he feels better soon.
Hmm.
And I'm going to do some podcasts with him here. And also, I hope to join him on his podcast. He's on the Future Cannabis Project. They've got some great podcasts there. His is Not So Dog and Crybaby. I recommend you guys all take a look because he does a lot of talk about cannabis strain history. He actually knows a lot about the history of different strains more than most people.
Kind of a
So,
historian of sorts.
yeah, he is a historian and
Yeah.
he's an excellent speaker. What I did want to talk to him about today was how we met and our relationship together, how um, we worked together for many years. He's just a great guy with a wealth of knowledge, and people have been telling both of us that they want us to do some podcasts together. So hopefully that'll happen again soon. But anyway, to just finish, I'll tell you a couple of stories about sharing the Chemdog with people, not the clones, but the actual flower. So, you know, at the time, the Chemdog was some of the most potent flower that me or any of my friends have ever had. It was so potent to the point that like I'd have to warn people prior to them smoking it, and everybody would always be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then, we had some incidents happen. So I have this friend, his name is DK. I don't talk to him much anymore, but still consider him my friend. And I met him online to see, well, I should say inline. My lady hates it when I say online because that means like I'm on the internet. It was in line at the Greek theater to get into Blues Traveler.
Great band.
And we were smoking. Everybody's out there smoking online and stuff, and I'm smoking the Chemdog, and people would always smell the Chemdog and ask me if they could have a hit. Even if they're smoking weed, it's just like the stuff is so unique. And I'd always be like, be careful, stuff's really potent. And people like thinking that I'm just giving them shit, that they're not experienced smokers. But, at the time, most people hadn't smoked shit like this.
Yeah.
And so we're online or in line to get into Blues Traveler, and I'm sharing the Chemdog with a couple of people. This guy takes one hit, he's all good, takes another hit, and that's it, passes it back. And after a few minutes, this guy who's very talkative becomes very introverted and very quiet, and just, you know, you can tell he's on a trip. He's not just high on weed. He's
Yeah.
he's gone.
He's getting chased
And
by the dog.
yeah, he needed to run. What ended up happening was the line let in to go into the show, and he just stayed there. He couldn't go in. Like he waited for hours to get in so he could be up front, one of the first people to get in. And when the show happened, like when the line let in, he was so high that he didn't make it into the show. Um, Another story was I went to see Phil Lesh was doing a concert called the Philharmonia. It was after um, Jerry died. They did a Christmas concert, which I've been searching for audio or video of these concerts forever. I can't find it. So if anyone knows where to find that, please let me know. But so we're in the show, and I had my camera. Um, I'm an avid photographer. Now mostly I do everything with the iPhone because the iPhone takes such good pictures. But I used to carry my camera pretty much everywhere and bring it to any shows that I could get it in. Um, my dad, when I was young, taught me how to develop black and white film. So Photography's been in my life for a really long time. So anyway, smoking the Chemdog as I do, and this girl behind me asks me if she can hit it. So of course I say, hey, you can hit it, but just want you to know it's pretty strong weed. Oh, she's like, oh no, I'm fine. I smoke weed every day. So let her hit it. Again, she probably takes 2 hits, gives it back. And I'm enjoying the show. She's behind me. I don't know what's going on. And before I know it, she literally passes out, like collapses on my back. And I turn around trying to, um,
See who's attacking you?
well, no, like I knew I wasn't being attacked, but somebody's falling on me. So I turn around. The camera is on a strap around my neck. As I spin around, I clock her in the head with my camera.
Oh no.
So she's already going down, and it's like
Yeah,
crash.
just adding to it.
Yeah, just give her another smack on
You
her
want to
way
make sure she's
down.
not going to get up.
Yeah. And so we took her over to RockMed, and RockMed's like, what is she on? I was like, it's just weed,
It's the dog.
It was, yeah, she got bit by the dog. So yeah, I've had so many experiences through my life with the Chemdog that people thought that they could handle it. People thought they were experienced smokers. And, when it hit them, you know, they went down hard. So yeah, so that's just a couple of stories that that I wanted to share with you guys about being called an OG by Capulator and sharing the Chemdog with people. Before I go, I do want to make a comment slash pose a question to listeners or viewers of this podcast. So we were going to call it Gabbing with Gabby, and that was Cosmic's. He came up with that, and I loved it. I thought it was great. Um, and that's what I posted the first video as Gabbing with Gabby. We found out that there's multiple people calling their podcast Gabbing with Gabby. So, we
We
decided we
probably
might,
should have searched it before, we just ran with it.
yeah, for sure. So I'm looking for other names for the podcast, and I was hoping that viewers could put in the comments what they think, give me some suggestions on what we can name the podcast. One simple thing was to just call it Gabbing with Gabby Staten Island, because that's how you guys know me, is Gabby Staten Island. Another thing I was thinking about doing was calling it the Garden Spout Podcast. The Garden Spout was my indoor garden shop that I had for 20 years in Sonoma County and also even in Portland, Oregon. I had a partner up there that made a franchise for the Garden Spout in Portland. And this store is no more. It's been closed down for, I think, like 8 years now. But as a way to keep the Garden Spout alive, I was thinking about calling the podcast the Garden Spout. So I wanted to see what you guys thought about it. And please give me some feedback on what we should call the podcast. And yeah, so that's it. We're going to make this one a short one today. We're trying to just do some little stories, and maybe we will edit them all together into something longer. Also, when I talk with Not So Dog, also hoping to have VA Skunk on the podcast. When, I have guests like them on, I'm sure our conversations are going to go on, much longer than, 15, 20 minutes that the, first one is. I don't know how long we've been going now, but probably, not much longer than that. But anyway, the plan is to do some regular podcasts. Something else that we're planning on doing is we want to do like a roundtable where we discuss indoor gardening, actually container gardening, and whether it's better to do it organic or inorganic. So I've got my feelings on that. I'll give you a hint. I will be taking the inorganic side, and we are currently looking for people that want to take the side of organic gardening is better, that you're going to get a better quality product. So Yeah, also, if you have any other ideas of things that you want to hear us talk about, please let us know. And until then, be kind.
Thanks, everybody.